In the short passage, Jesus repeats that command. You have to eat his flesh under the sacramental sign. So, this is an important Catholic teaching. Just like I say, if you do not believe in the real presence, you should not be partaking of the bread and wine. You are making a mockery of the sacrament. You are committing the sin of sacrilege. We become what we eat. For breakfast, perhaps this morning you took bread. After a few hours, what happens to bread? It is digested, assimilated, and it becomes part of your body. Bread elevated to being part of human. In the Eucharist, the reverse takes place. Bread elevated to the dignity of human when we consume the bread. But in the Eucharist, the reverse takes place. When we consume the bread of life, Jesus, we are elevated to share in the divinity of Christ. That's why in the preparation of the gifts, which I'll be talking about in the next session, the structure. When the priest prepares the chalice to be consecrated, he adds wine, then he adds a drop of water. And as he mingles the water with the wine, he prays. By the mystery of this water and wine, may we come to share the divinity of Christ, who humbles himself to share our humanity. Of course, the priest usually prays this silently as it passes. But you look at the middle, study the text. By the mystery of this water and wine are mixed. Water symbolizing all of us, because we are baptized in the waters of baptism. Wine will be transformed into the blood of Christ. So before the wine is consecrated, water is added unto it, representing all of us. It symbolizes our union with Christ. So we are united with Christ, and that chalice is offered up to the Father. Jesus is being offered up, we are being offered up. And in the prayer, the priest prays, through the mingling of the water wine, may we come to share in the divinity of Christ. We are privileged to share in the divine nature of Christ, just as he humbled himself to share our human nature. We are elevated to the level of the divine. Now that is our privilege when we receive the Eucharist. So we become what we eat. When we consume Christ, we become other Christ. Christ said to St. Augustine, you won't change me into yourself, but you will be changed into me. We become other Christ. And I think this is important. When we receive Christ during the Mass, Christ comes to us. When we leave the church after the celebration, Christ is in us. We bring Christ to the world. So the Mass does not end with a blessing. It continues as you go forth to bring Christ to the world. In church, you receive the Eucharist, you go forth to be the Eucharist to the world. We are elevated to the level of the divine. Christ explains this, St. Augustine, in his word. You won't change me, but you will be changed into me. We become other Christ. And indeed, as Christians, we're called to be other Christ. That's why we're called Christian, disciples of Christ, other Christ. We are not Buddhists. We are not Taoists. We are Christians because we are followers of Christ, and we carry Christ with us, and we bring Christ to the world. Yet, why no evident radical transformation in us? A very relevant question. If in the Eucharist we receive Christ, how come week after week after week we receive the Eucharist, there is no change in us? Very often we are worse than the non-Catholics. Do you think so? I think we have to realize this, that we make a mockery of this sacrament when we do not allow the Eucharist to transform us. The Eucharist must bring about transformation. Otherwise, it is meaningless. It's just another piece of biscuit. If you really understand, really appreciate treasure, gradually, I'm not saying overnight, gradually you must be transformed to become more and more Christ-like. So the question is, why no evident radical transformation in us? In spite of the fact that week after week we are receiving the Eucharist. Not because of the lousy Eucharist, which is not in fact, but because of our rotten faith. Because of rotten faith, we don't believe, we are not convinced. Sometimes, when I give up communion, I begin to wonder whether these people who come forward to receive really believe that Jesus is present, or it's just another routine, another religious rite. Everybody coming forward to receive, I better go up. If I don't go up, people will say, how come not receiving? Must be in terrible sin. But that may not be such a good practice. I don't know whether your Catholic practice, they go row by row. Of course, for order. But I think sometimes it makes it difficult for those who are not receiving. If they do, it's very evident really. Everybody in that room going up, still sitting there. Right? So I wonder whether it's a good idea, that system, although when maintain order. But from the pastoral dimension, I don't think that's such a good idea, personally. A bit of disorder, but at least make people feel more comfortable. For me, that would be more important than just order. So, don't blame the Eucharist for not making impact. Blame the lousy rotten faith. Okay, this time I will review, but I already mentioned this. Jesus, the bread of life, broken and shared. Broken and shared. Jesus had to be broken on the cross to share his life with us. Just like bread has to be sliced before it can be shared. So Jesus had to be broken in order to share himself with us. We're a broken people sustained by the bread of life. We are people on the way. We are an Exodus people, just like in the original Exodus experience of the Israelites. When they were moving from Egypt to the Promised Land, they were sustained along the way by manna that the Lord provided for them in the wilderness. We Christians are also a broken people, an Exodus people. And the Lord sustained us through his own body and blood in the Eucharist. So we are sustained by the bread of life. When we receive the Eucharist, hopefully we undergo a transformation, a share in Christ's divinity, which I will explain to you. And that the Paschal mystery is actualized. We die and we rise to Christ. Some of these things I'll be going back again, right, in the other session. Now, for the first session, just give you an overview, the big picture. I will fill in the details as we go along. like what is a passing machine on, I'll treat you later on. You notice that during the Mass, we proclaim Amen many times. And it is important that we give our Amen. Active participation. One way that you participate actively in the Mass is through your personal response. And to respond not mechanically but with conviction. Perhaps the most important Amen takes place after the doxology which concludes the Eucharistic prayer, when the priest holds up the bread and the chalice and proclaims through him and with him and in him. Right? After that proclamation, the people come in with the great Amen. It is important because if you do not give that Amen with conviction, it implies that you are not participating. That Amen means you're telling the Father, just as Jesus offers himself to the Father in the sacrifice of the Mass, you are participating in that sacrifice by offering yourself to the Father. And you indicate that it is also your sacrifice by giving that Amen at the end of the doxology. That is called the great Amen to conclude the Eucharistic prayer. Because if you don't give that Amen, you are not participating in the Mass. You are just being there. Physically you are there. It is sad, that so many of Catholics still do not respond. It really irritates me. Sunday after Sunday after Sunday, the body of Christ is. What's the meaning of this? That means you don't understand. You have to. See, the Amen is not just one word. It means a lot. It is an act of commitment. Right? It's an affirmation of your faith. What has been prayed at the end of each prayer? We say Amen. This is my prayer. I believe in this. I commit myself to what is expressed in the prayer. So it's an important word, So every time it appears in the liturgy, make sure that you respond loudly, clearly, promptly. So our Amen is a commitment, expression of our commitment to Christ and to the community. And then we share the Eucharist by breaking the bread together as a pledge of our friendship with one another, as a sign of our reconciliation and acceptance of one another. A pledge of friendship. The Mass is not private devotion. So you don't pray the Rosary, you don't have your own Divine Mercy devotion and other prayers. When the Mass is on, you participate fully in the Mass as an expression of your solidarity with the people of God, as an act of friendship with those who are gathered here. So it is a pledge of our friendship with our brothers and sisters, that we are not alone. And to breaking the bread together is also an expression of our reconciliation and acceptance of one another. More on this later on.